All right. Hey, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Texas Rising Camp Summer Institute, the second weekend. We're going to give folks a couple of minutes to go ahead and hop on. So we're waiting for more attendees to hop in to this session. But for right now, we're going to take 5 minutes to go ahead and let people hop on. Good morning, y'all. I'm going to play some music while folks are starting to hop on. If you can, go ahead and let's get going in the chat, something that you're really looking forward to seeing this weekend. So if folks can start populating the chat with that, that'd be great to see. Hey, y'all. As you all start to join, as folks start to hop on, please go ahead and share what you are most excited about for this weekend. And if you just hopped on, welcome to Camp Summer Institute second weekend. Arash said, I can't pick. And I totally agree with that. I think there's going to be a lot of really amazing trainings this weekend. Hey, y'all. I saw some more folks hopped on. So if you're just hopping on, say hello in the chat and tell us what you're looking forward to the most out of this weekend. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. It is now 10:05. I know folks will still continue to hop on, but we're going to go ahead and get started with the opening ceremony for today. So again, welcome to Camp Summer Institute, the second weekend. We have a lot of really cool things planned for this weekend. My name is Ray Martinez, and I'm the Texas Rising Director for the Texas Freedom Network. I want to give you guys a quick glimpse into our upcoming agenda for today. So just to give everybody an overview, we are going to do our opening ceremony with our keynote speaker and the TFN Executive Director, Kathy Miller, here. And we are then going to transition into our opening ceremony with our awards for folks. I believe we're awarding the Alumni of the Year, Student Chapter of the Year, as well as Student Leader of the Year. Then we're going to go into two proposals from a couple of Texas Rising students. They're going to be really great trainings. You got the best of the best giving you these trainings. So we're going to have a voter registration during COVID-19 training, and then an event planning training that you can choose from, both happening at the same time. If you can't choose between two sessions, don't worry. All of these sessions will be recorded, and you can go ahead and get back into the agenda to kind of see them a couple of days later. They'll pop up and you can rewatch them. So if you feel like you're missing out on anything, you can go ahead and get back in a couple of days later and rewatch that training. Today, all of our breaks, and tomorrow, all of our breaks are going to be facilitated by a person who's going to play some music. A lot of our staff is going to get on and play their playlist. I know folks had some thoughts on playlists that were played last week, so hopefully we'll get some a wealth of different kind of music getting played. Texas Rising and the 2020 elections is also a training that we're going to go over, just forward-looking, a deep dive into what's going to happen over the next couple of months for Texas Rising. After which, we're going to have another break and then hop right into another fireside chat with our Texas State House flip seats, which is going to be super cool. These are seats that we're hoping flip in 2020. After which, we'll have both a communications training and a fundraising training happening at the same time. You can choose from them. We have really great speakers coming in for those, so just be on the lookout for those. And then we will have our next session is going to be how to affect change locally, with a specific focus on the County Commissioner's Court, as well as a faith organizing training happening at the same time. You can kind of choose from those two. And then we'll go ahead and close out the day. That'll be it for us today. We'll close out around 3:45 p.m. today. And then I believe we're working on the back end to make sure that there's a session afterwards that folks can join if they would like to talk to other folks who are attending the training. So we're working on getting that up today. And I'll let you guys know as we go on if we have that up later today. So with that, that's a little overview of what our trainings are for today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the Texas Freedom Network's Executive Director, Kathy Miller, to go ahead and talk to us about Texas Rising and 2020. Oh, and Kathy, you're on mute right now. Oh, you might want to take yourself off mute, Kat.
I got it. Good morning, everybody. I am Kathy Miller. I'm president of the Texas Freedom Network. And last week, Val Benavidez talked to y'all about kind of the history of the Texas Freedom Network and Texas Rising. So Ray asked me this week to talk a little bit more about right now and 2020 and the future for Texas Rising. So I'm excited to do that, and I'm glad to see all of you here this morning. The tagline for Texas Rising, which is a project of the Texas Freedom Network, is building our power, building the power of young people, young progressives at the ballot box and in the halls of government in our state, expanding the political footprint and power of young people all across Texas. And that's super important because Texans under 30 are 43% of the population of our state, and 62% of those are people of color. Nearly 1/3 of all eligible voters in the state of Texas are between 18 and 30 years old. But in the last presidential election, 2016, only 25% of eligible 18 to 30-year-olds voted in that election. So Texas Rising is working to change that, and it is critically important in 2020. What began, Texas Rising actually began as a single student chapter on the University of Texas campus in Austin in 2007. And we are now what I believe is a political powerhouse in the state of Texas. In 2010, young people from Texas Rising engaged in their first electoral work. And by 2016, the last presidential election year, we had grown our strength and our registered voters and the folks that we had pledged to vote, had pledges to vote from, to a big enough universe that we could actually test our GOTV strategies. Young people move. About a third of all people under 30 move about every 2 years and often live in apartments, which are very hard to do traditional door knocking canvases. So we had a theory. We were going to take the cell phone, because the cell phone number, your cell phone number stays with you no matter where you move. We were going to turn the cell phone into a front door, and we were going to knock on it through phone banking and texting. And in 2016, we tested that theory with our voters. Now remember, 18 to 30 years olds turned out on average 25% of them voted. But our folks that we contacted turned out at 70%. The young people that we are working with and mobilizing and talking to about elections are actually really driving the increase in voter turnout. In 2017, we took that power to the legislature. We had our first legislative agenda, and we stormed the halls of the Capitol fighting against the hideous bathroom bill, fighting against SB 4, fighting against anti-abortion legislation, fighting for funding for public schools. In 2018, we issued our first endorsements. Texas Rising issued their first endorsements in district attorney races in San Antonio and Dallas. And in 2019, we had our first legislative scorecard, really holding our elected leaders accountable to the legislative agenda of Texas Rising. So we've been building this political footprint for all of these years. And in 2020, we were ready to scale. And we still are, despite COVID hitting in the middle of this. Our goals were to increase, again, young voter turnout and to flip the Texas House from Republican to Democrat. Super important in a redistricting year. In order to do that, Texas Rising is working to register 100,000 new voters under 30. We're already a quarter of the way there, and the big voter registration time comes in late August and September leading up to November elections, because that's when the urgency is there. And we're going to get out the vote, phones and texts and mail to more than 1 million voters in 2020, all under 30. In 2018, Texas became a battleground state in the country, in large part because young voter turnout increased by 200%. If young voter turnout increases by 200% in 2020, we will no longer be battleground, we will be blue. And if young voters are recognized as a key for candidates in these victories, they will have to listen when y'all show up at the Texas legislature to demand that your agenda be passed. And it's not just the legislature. What happens locally is super important too. Progressive county clerks are the ones in our cities are the ones out there fighting our state's voter suppression and anti-vote by mail laws. Progressive county judges are pressing our state. Progressive county judges and mayors are pressing our state's careless governor and attorney general on expanding paid sick time, especially during COVID. And they're telling the truth about the disproportionate impact of COVID on people of color in our communities, unlike our state's elected officials. And progressive DAs are leading the charge to end money bail, end prosecution of marijuana possession, and truly reform the criminal justice system. Texas Rising is mobilizing voters in all of these elections. We're going to endorse for the first time this year in all of our regions. and we're preparing to demand justice and respect for the issues that young people in Texas care about. So your efforts from now through the November election are just so important, and they get us ready for 2021 and holding our electeds accountable. I'm so excited to see the plans y'all are going to develop starting this weekend through November and see your power felt at the ballot box. One person that truly understands the power of young progressives in our state is this morning's keynote speaker, Jose Garza. Jose is a dear friend and has been as the executive director of Workers' Defense Project and Workers' Defense Action and Workers' Defense PAC, a true ally to progressives across the state and certainly to Texas Rising and the Texas Freedom Network. Texas Rising endorsed Jose in his primary runoff against Margaret Moore. And not only did he win, y'all, Margaret Moore conceded within minutes of the polls closing because he had such a huge victory. Jose is now poised to be one of the most progressive district attorneys in the entire country. And I am super excited that he is here as your keynote speaker this morning. Jose.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Ray. I am just so incredibly excited and energized to be with so many amazing organizers and leaders. I am a huge Texas Rising fan, in part because Kathy is my friend and Val is my friend, but mostly because I am so in awe and inspired by all of you. My name is Jose Garza, and as Kathy said, I am running to be the district attorney here in Travis County. We did have an amazing victory on election night in the primary runoff because of you. But we also have an election in November and so much work to do between now and January. I'm running to be the district attorney here in Travis County because I know, just like you do, that our criminal justice system is broken. And not just here in Travis County, but all across our state and all across our country. But I also know, just like you do, that it doesn't have to be this way, that we have the power to fix this. I started my career as a public defender down on the border in a little town called Del Rio, Texas. And in those jobs, both at the state and the federal level, I saw the way our criminal legal system weighs most heavily on working class people and people of color. I saw in those jobs the way that we use our criminal legal system in this country like a rug. When we, as a society, as a community, when we fail people because of our broken and inequitable education system, because of our broken economy, because of our broken healthcare system, our criminal legal system is the rug that we sweep them under, so we don't have to face our own failures. And I have seen those failures and that broken system up close. But I have also seen the incredible power that you have to change your communities and most certainly to fix our broken criminal justice system. For so long, the pundits and the insiders have told us that we can't count on young people and working class people and people of color, that young people and people of color couldn't be trusted with our democracy. For so long, the pundits and the insiders have bet against you, and not just bet against you, but worked to intentionally exclude you from our systems. But we know that they are wrong. And I know personally that they are wrong because I have seen up close the incredible power that you have. Many of you know that for the last 4 years, it has been my incredible privilege to lead workers' defense. And in that job, I have been so honored to fight in so many fights alongside all of you. It was my incredible privilege to fight side by side with you against SB4 in the halls of our state legislature and in our communities across the state. It has been my incredible privilege to fight side by side with all of you to win earned paid sick time throughout our state. Because no person should have to choose between going to work sick and taking a pay cut. It has been my incredible privilege to fight alongside all of you to heal and repair our broken criminal justice system. I know that they are wrong because I have seen your power up close. And that's why I was so incredibly excited a few months ago to learn that Texas Rising was going to be endorsing in our race for district attorney in Travis County. Because I knew I have seen what you could do. I have seen what you are capable of. And from the beginning of our campaign, we knew that if people of color, if young people, if working people, and if women could unite, could come together, that we would have a historic opportunity to fundamentally reimagine our criminal justice system, not only here in Travis County, but across the state and across the country. From the beginning of our campaign, we bet on you, and you did not let us down. The status quo was counting on you to stay home. The status quo was betting on cynicism and apathy. Their entire strategy was rooted in the idea that you wouldn't get involved in our politics, that you wouldn't take charge of your own destiny. But they were wrong. You, quite frankly, in fights all across this state, but in our election in particular, you worked your ass off. You organized young people. And because you did, on election day, on July 14th, we had historic turnout. Young people turned out at historic levels and absolutely won this race. Because of you and the work that you put in to our movement, we now have an opportunity to build a criminal justice system that lifts up working people and people of color instead of locking them up. Because of you and your power, I believe that we are on the verge of generational, transformational change. Because of your power, I believe that we have the opportunity to build a criminal justice system that lifts up working people and people of color instead of locking them up. And we are going to do that first by ending our failed war on drugs. When we win, we are going to end the prosecution of low-level drug offenses in Travis County for two reasons. One, because the evidence is overwhelmingly clear at this point, in our 60-year war on drugs, that every day that a person who is struggling with substance use stays in jail, the likelihood that they will commit another crime goes up. By continuing to use so many of our resources to lock people up who are struggling with substance use, we are actively making our communities less safe. But the other reason that it's time to end the prosecution of low-level drug offenses is because we know that those charges are one of the greatest drivers of racial disparities in our criminal legal system. Here in Travis County, substance use is consistent across race and ethnicity. That means that the evidence is clear that white folks, brown folks, black folks are all using drugs at about the same rate. But when we look at prosecution and arrest data, it is primarily our communities, communities of color, working people, and young people who feel the brunt of our criminal legal system. And because of that, it's time to walk away from these failed policies and end the prosecution of low-level drug offenses. It is also time to end our cash bail system in Travis County and across this state. For 400 years in this country, we have been sold this lie that what public safety is locking up as many working people and people of color as we can. We've been told that if we only lock up enough people of color, that's what will make us more safe. But we know that that's not true. We know that what public safety is a good job. It's access to healthcare. It's access to great schools to send our children. So beginning now, we are going to invest in the things that keep our community safe, but we need you to do it. I believe that we can build a criminal justice system when law enforcement is held accountable when they harm members of our community. Bold reform is possible, but it's only possible if you continue to organize. If you do that, we can fix our broken criminal justice system, not just here in Travis County, but across this state. We can do this. And I'm so grateful to all of you for the work you have already put in and for the work that you're going to put in. I'm so excited to work alongside you. It looks like, let's see, we've got any questions before we wrap? And I'm so grateful for your time this morning. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. Remember, we've got an election in November and won't take office until January. So got to keep moving, got to keep organizing, got to keep hustling.
Hey, Jose.
Yeah.
How can people help you once you take office? How can young people help you once you take office?
Well, Kathy, that's when the real work begins. We have said from the beginning that winning this election was going to be the easy part. And Texas Rising proved that with your incredible efforts to galvanize and turn out voters. But the hard part is making the changes that are so necessary and that our community has demanded. And the way that we're going to do that is by filling the halls of County Commissioner's Court. Kathy, is there a training on that later today? That feels like maybe a good one.
There is
a good one to drop in on by making sure that the city council and the police chief understand the expectations that we have of them, that the sheriff understands the expectations that we have of them. So our work won't end in January. It'll begin in earnest.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Jose.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We're just super happy you came here today and gave us this wonderful keynote speaker. We're so excited about after the general election in 2020 for you to become the DA of Travis County. Thank you. Well, y'all, we are now going to close out this session. Again, thank you, Jose, and thank you, Kathy, for leading the session today. We are now going to migrate over into the awards section. So if you will go ahead and leave this session and join the awards session, which is right after, you all should be in the right area. So thank you guys, and head over to the awards session.